And again, this is the whole thing about society, making us look outside of ourselves, right? Making other people tell us who we are, what we're good at. And it's just, it doesn't feel right to me. So when I read this book, and it talks about the fact that when people judge your performance and judge your strengths and weaknesses, that's performance-based, right? But, so here's the good part. In the book, it talks about how your strength is something that strengthens you, okay? And your weakness is something that weakens you. So in other words, your strengths are activities that strengthen you. And your weaknesses are activities that weaken you.
Hey, chosen ones, how are you doing? Okay, so today we are going to be talking about strengths and weaknesses. Now, I am consistently talking about how people have gifts, right? We were all given gifts. We are all naturally good at something, okay? And then there are other things where we may struggle a little bit and we may not enjoy as much, okay? And now, what we have been brought up to believe, and I'm sure you've felt this and had this experience throughout school, throughout your work life, is that your strengths are what you are good at and your weaknesses are what you are bad at, okay? Now, for example, in school, you'll be in school and they'll say, oh, she's really good at maths, but maybe she needs to improve on English. Or he's really good at science, but he needs to work more on maybe religious education. Now, that is somebody telling you what your strength is. Now, there's this book I discovered that I truly, truly loved and I resonated with it 100%. It was called Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham and Donald O. Clifton. And in this book, so it's a book, but then what they also do is that they have a strength finder test where you can take and you have I think it's like a couple of seconds or a few seconds to answer 100 and 150 questions. I can't remember now. I did it a long time ago. And what happens is that you are answering those questions straight from your subconscious. Like you're just answering the questions based on what you believe straight away. You're not having time to think about it, process it, and all those kind of things to give the answer that you want to give, as opposed to the answer that is most true. Now, what that does is it helps you to determine and find out what areas you are strong in and what areas you are not strong in. Now, let me go back to the beginning where I was talking about how, so people will tell you what your strengths are from school to maybe to college, to university. Oh, you are really strong in this subject, but you need to improve on this subject. In work, oh, you're really good at presenting, but perhaps you need to be more good at managing people. And now what this is people telling you or judging you based on your performance, right? Now, in this book, it says that your strengths and weaknesses are completely different to your performance. So where someone will tell you, oh, you are really good at this, you're good at that, that is performance. That is not a strength, and that is certainly not a weakness, okay? Because when it comes to people judging your performance and saying it's a strength or weakness, that's external, right? So if it's based on performance, you can't judge your own performance. Somebody else has to judge your performance. Is that correct or is not correct? So that is why at school, at work, people will appraise you to let you know how you're doing. And again, this is a whole thing about society, making us look outside of ourselves, right? Making other people tell us who we are, what we're good at. And it's just, it doesn't feel right to me. So when I read this book and it talks about the fact that when people judge your performance and judge your strengths and weaknesses, that's performance based, right? But so here's the good part. In the book, it talks about how your strength is something that strengthens you, okay? And your weakness is something that weakens you. So in other words, your strengths are activities that strengthen you. And your weaknesses are activities that weaken you. So you could have you could be good at something, right? But it might not be your strength. You could be good at teaching people, but it might not be your strength because it doesn't strengthen you. You don't enjoy it. It doesn't bring you excitement and passion, right? But you could be good at it. That's performance, okay? But strength is something that strengthens you, an activity that strengthens you when you do it. So, in other words, what activities do you do that you look forward to it? It brings you excitement. And when you're doing it, you could do it over and over and over again and never get tired. And again, what are the weaknesses? What are things that you try and run away from? You try and delegate. You procrastinate in. Those are your weaknesses, okay? So if we look at your strengths and weaknesses by the activities that strengthen you and your weaknesses at by activities that weaken you, then who is the best person to judge what your strengths and weaknesses are? Oh, I love it. So what that is doing is bringing back the power to you. Okay, because I always say, I did a video yesterday, which kind of led me to do this video today, that you have everything within you to achieve all your goals, your dreams, your visions. They were all implanted into you by God. And so therefore, He can't give you a vision or a dream or a passion or something and not give you the tools to get there. So you already have everything you need. And that is an internal thing. You have to go within. You have to do the work on yourself in order to be able to achieve your goals, to achieve your dreams. And you have to work on the mindset and everything else that comes with achieving and attaining goals and dreams. Okay? So that is an internal thing. So now when we look at what your strengths and weaknesses are from the perspective of activities that strengthen and weaken you, that gives you back the power in the sense of, what do I do that strengthens me? Now I can figure out my own strengths and weaknesses by looking within and figuring out what strengthens me, what I look forward to doing, what I enjoy. I can also equally figure out what my weaknesses are by what weakens me, okay? And so that gives you back your power. Now, a good way for you to determine or help you to start finding your strengths and weaknesses is by getting a paper and putting a line in the middle of the paper. And on one side, you write what I loved, and the other side, what I loathed. For a week, note down everything that you loved and got excited to do on that side. And on the other side, everything that didn't excite you, everything that you procrastinated on, everything you really disliked doing on the other side. And that will be the first point to you, or that will help you and point you in the direction of what your strengths are. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to add to this was that what we've been told is that, oh, so you're strong at this, so you don't necessarily need to work on this. And you're weak on this, so you need to build and work on your weaknesses. Okay. Again, external, other people telling us what we need to do when you should know, and you do know what is best for you. Now, from the book's perspective, and the perspective I completely 100% agree with, is the fact that when you identify your strengths, you work at growing and building on your strengths. Okay. And then when you identify your weaknesses, you manage them. You don't have to necessarily try and make them better and stronger, because the area of focus should be on your strengths. Why? Because it is easier for you to build on something you're already strong at than to build on your weaknesses. Okay, let me give you an example. Say if you are a speaker and you're naturally good at speaking, and if somebody was to rate you, you were to rate yourself, you would say you're probably like 60-70% there with speaking. Now, if you were to go and take some speaking courses, join speaking organizations and get involved with other speakers, study other people, you could build yourself up by an additional 20%, which would then make you 80% or even 90 or 100, right? Now, your weakness, say you're at a 30-40%, you're okay, you're really not that strong, and then you want to build on it. Now again, if you were to put the same amount of effort that you put into your speaking, you would probably get, say, 20% better. If you're at 30, you'd be 50%. If you're at 20, you'll be 40%. If you're at 30, you would be 50%, right? Which means that even when you do work on your weaknesses, you will never get to the same level as you would as somebody who is already good at that. Okay. So the idea is, when it comes to your strengths and weaknesses, identify what strengthens you, identify what weakens you, and then build on what strengthens you. And by that, you can have more of an impact. You can have more, effect and influence on the things that you are good at. You see? And so it is really important, guys, for you to learn about yourself, learn who you are, chosen one. Okay. You already know that you're special. You have all these gifts, you have all these abilities, but what are your strengths? What strengthens you and what weakens you? I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you would read the book. I will post the book's name below, and I hope it's something that you read, because it's truly an interesting read. So, chosen one, if there's something that you know you need to be doing that you haven't done, I encourage you to get started. I encourage you to step out of your current comfort zone. I encourage you to push yourself and, expand and grow and become your most authentic and your best self, in other words. Okay, so my name is Anita. It's my pleasure to have brought this video to you. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell, because that will tell you anytime I post a new video. Send you lots of love. Have an amazing rest of your day, and see you tomorrow. Bye.